In today's video, I'm going to show you how to combine decorative stitches on the Janome CM17. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts, and there are a lot of decorative stitches on the Janome CM17, and it can be really fun to combine them to create, your own personalized stitches to use on your garments or your quilt designs. And by the way, I want to say a big thank you to Janome Canada for giving me the Janome CM17 so I can share this information with you today. So let's talk about decorative stitches. First thing you want to know is, how do you set up your machine to use them, right? That's important, isn't it? Well, what's really important is to get the right needle plate and the right feet when you're doing decorative stitches. So you want to make sure you're using the zigzag or regular needle plate. I'll just pull it out so you can see it better. And that's the one that has this big space in the middle, because when you're making decorative stitches, you're going back and forth, right? And you want to make sure you've got that open area in the needle plate. Otherwise, you're going to have an awful loud noise and at least a broken needle, if not something else going on with your machine. So, regular or zigzag needle plate installed. And now you have a variety of feet that you can use. So when you're working with decorative stitches, you usually see your machine tell you, or ask you politely, to use either your F foot, which is here, or your F2 foot. It'll usually say the F, but F or F2, both will work. And the difference between them is that the F2 foot is open in the center, gives you better visibility. I tend to prefer that one myself just because of the visibility, but either one works very well. Now you can also use one of your AccuFeed Flex feet. So today I'm going to use this UD sole. And this comes, all these feet I'm talking about come with the Janome CM17, which is really nice. And again, this foot reminds me of the F2 foot because it's got that open area. So great visibility in the center of that foot. And as I mentioned, it is an AccuFeed Flex foot. So you're going to get that motion of feeding the top and the bottom along at the same time with the AccuFeed Flex system it's going to use. Now, one of the things that's a little confusing when you plug in an AccuFeed Flex foot and you want to use it, and you ask the machine very politely to use it, it's going to say, I don't want to use that for anything except straight stitches. Okay, because that's usually what you use we call it like a walking foot for. Don't worry, you can adjust this manually. So to do that, all you need to do, let's say you're in your ordinary sewing mode, and all you need to do is go up on your screen to that hamburger menu. That's the 3 vertical lines, or horizontal lines I should say. I'm vertically and horizontally challenged all the time. And you'll see it says manual dual feed setting, and it'll show that it's off. All right, so you want to turn it on, right? You want to use it. So you click on. You probably heard that noise, right? And it is now activated. So you can just click OK, the bottom of the menu, and now you'll be able to use the AccuFeed Flex system for decorative stitches, which is what we're going to be working with today. So that's the first thing I like to do because that's the foot I'm using in today's example. So I'm going to move my other feet out of the way so they don't get caught up or anything. Now, another thing I want to mention, when you're using decorative stitches, they are a denser stitch than just your straight stitch. And so it's always a good idea to have stabilizer behind your fabric. Okay, so I've got a medium weight tearaway stabilizer here. Depending on the density of the stitches, you might want to use a couple of layers. You can either use more is better than less, because if you don't have stabilizer, you know what happens? You get bunching. Okay, you get bunching up because the fabric and maybe the stabilizer you have behind is not strong enough to support those stitches. So that's the first thing you want to do. Now, if you're working with a quilt sandwich, let's say, you may not need to put a stabilizer on at all because you've got a top, a batting, and backing, and that may be sufficient. Again, it depends on the stitches, so I always suggest that you practice these first, and especially if you want to change any of the settings on the decorative stitches, right? Okay, let's go back to talk about combining those decorative stitches, because that's where the fun really comes in, right? So let's go into our ordinary sewing mode, okay? And then I'm going to go into my decorative stitches, and you have all these different categories. I'm actually going to go into my D category, which is decorative stitches. So I'm in the decorative stitches area, okay? Kind of meta, right? So when you're in there, in this particular category, there's 10 different pages of stitches. And it doesn't really matter, what I'm going to put together today because I'm just playing around. But, you may have some certain things in mind that you want to create. Maybe a spring-like combination of decorative stitches with a bunch of different flowers, for example. You can have lots of fun here. It's a bit of a rabbit hole. So make sure you got a bit of time if you want to combine these. Okay, so typically when you're working with the decorative stitches, this is what you're going to see on your screen. You'll see a lot of different decorative stitches. You'll see the stitch that's selected. It's always the first one here on the left-hand top left side. And you'll see it, imagined, shall we say, in this area here. But you want to combine different stitches together, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to come back down, I should say, to the area here. And you see right now it shows 3 hearts in a vertical line. Press on that icon and it changes, and now you'll see a heart, a spade, and a diamond. Okay, so that's to represent different stitches. And you'll notice that there's nothing showing up here now. Don't be worried, things will start showing up, okay? So you're starting with a clean slate. So you're going to choose a stitch. So let's just choose this stitch here. Let's say that's number 28, I guess. And you see that now it's showing up in this area on the left-hand side. This is what it's going to be stitching out for you, right? And you'll see that there's a blue cursor there as well, okay? That cursor tells me it's moved to the next area, all right? It's next spot, ready for something else to be put in. So we can put something else in. So we're just going to go along, put a bunch of different stitches in. And you can see that they're showing up here now, and that blue cursor is moving down again, to the empty space. Let's talk about what you can do in here, shall we? You can see that we've got a couple of little cursors here, one up, one down. Okay, when I press that cursor, you'll notice that my little cursor on the side here has now changed to black, but the decorative stitch has changed to blue. So it tells me we are now at that decorative stitch, and we can do various things to that particular stitch. One of the things you can do with it is to adjust the width or length of it. So you see your width and length settings down near the bottom there. If you wanted to adjust the length on it, you could do that. If you wanted to adjust the width, you could do that. You can see that those letters, numbers I should say, change to blue, indicating that they're different than the default setting. If I don't want to do that, I can just click the DFT button, which is default, and you can see that they've changed back and they're now showing the default settings and they are in white. Okay, so I can move up and down with the stitches I've already got there, and as I move, you can see that they change to blue and the cursor is black. Okay, so I know which particular stitch I'm working with. What if I don't like that stitch in my combination and I want to get rid of it? Well, make sure you're on the right stitch. First off, it'll be blue. And at the bottom, you'll see a garbage can. So when I click on the garbage can, it takes that stitch out. It's no longer there. Instead of 4 stitches, I now have 3. All right, let's say we want to keep going along. I just want to get rid of that one stitch and I want to keep going. We're going to move our cursor down until it gets to the white area. You'll notice that the cursor is now blue. All right, and I can continue adding. Let's go to another page and add some other kinds of designs. Okay. All right, so let's say I've created this combination and then I want to know how long it is because I want to put it in a specific place. I want to know if it's going to fit or not. So if I come down to the bottom of the screen here and I click on the magnifying glass, it takes me to this preview screen where I can see it stitching out there. And on the bottom left here, you can see I've got 4 designs there actually. And then the bottom left, there's this little icon that has A to F on it. And when I click on that, it will tell me the length of the stitch, the approximate length of the stitch. So it says it's 3 inches, and it might be a little bit more than that, a little bit less than that. It's not perfect, but it gives you an idea of how long that would be. So you can just click OK there, click the X to exit that, and you're back to your area with the stitches again. All right, so I've got these different stitches in here, and I can print them out if I want. Do I want to save them? Maybe I want to save them. Maybe I'm just playing around. But if I want to save them, there is a folder at the bottom there. You can click on that folder icon, and you can save it either in the machine or in a USB stick. The automatic default is to the machine. You can see it's blue there. You can name the stitch if you want, the combination stitch I should say, and you can type it in here if you want. I'm not going to at this time. I'm just going to close up, but if you did put it in, you would just click OK. If you wanted to put it on a USB stick instead, you could click on a USB stick. It's going to tell you to insert one if there isn't one in there. All right, it's a smart machine, and you could keep it there. So you have a choice of where you can keep that or save that combined stitch. Let's say we just want to, at this point in time, stitch it out. Now, one thing as I'm stitching along is the cursor on the screen, on the menu, is going along and showing me which stitch is stitching out. And if I don't tell it to stop, it'll just start repeating this pattern over and over again. So I'm going to push my lock stitch button as I'm just starting the last stitch in that combination, and then it will stop, lock the stitches, and I'll be able to take it out and show you what it looks like. All right, so here's what we have stitched so far. So here's my little combination of stitches that I put in there. So you can see what that looks like. It looks pretty good. They all stitched out very nicely. One of the things you want to remember when you're working with decorative stitches and stitching them out is to slow your machine down, okay? You don't want to do it really quickly or it might distort the stitches a little bit, especially if they're really dense ones. These ones are fairly open. They stitched out really nicely. Back looks good on them, and that stabilizer kept them from bunching up at all, so a really good result. Now I've got some more information for you, but before I tell you that, I want to say a really big thank you to my Patchwork Pals. Those are quilters who've joined my Patchwork Pals YouTube membership, and for a small monthly fee, they support my Chatterbox Quilts YouTube channel, and they get lots of perks. Some of them are quite fun, actually. And if you're interested in joining the Patchwork Pals membership, click on the join button below any of my videos. You can get all the information. You could even join us today. Now, while I've shown you how to combine decorative stitches, you might be wondering, what can I do with decorative stitches, right? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. Check out this video that has all the information that you need. And for more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.